Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Defender of the Republic Live. It's been a while since I've been here chatting with you guys, but I've got an exciting show today. I wanted to first make sure, and I apologize for being late, but I wanted to make sure that all the streams are working. So I see that I've got Pilled up. Good to see you, everyone. I've got some chatting going on already. I've got Jimmy actually in the background here. Thumbs up, Jimmy. Let me know. So I see Pilled. I do not see YouTube. Thumbs up if that's working. And then Rumble. So I see myself on Rumble. So YouTube is the only one I think I'm having trouble with. They probably won't like this anyway. So not worried about it. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope to bring you guys more entertaining shows. Needed a break. We all do every once in a while. So on tonight's show, we're about to expose the largest drug and money laundering operation in history. Corruption at the highest levels, not just Washington, not just politics, but banks, corporations, cartels all around the United States and countries like Ukraine. This isn't Democrat or Republican. It's corruption that has infiltrated us at every level. It affects every American, and it goes back to the tiny state of New Hampshire. This is the currency that controls everything that we're going to be talking about. So we will discuss with you how you guys, the American people, can help. So I want you guys to join me in welcoming my guest. I'm very grateful to have him, Mike Gill. Hi, Mike.
Hi, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I want to reiterate something you had said. This is not political. I am not political. Not the means I don't have opinions, but I'm on a mission. I have a responsibility to this evidence and to this proof. I want to first tell you I was a businessman that built the largest volume mortgage brokerage firm in United States by volume, according to Fannie Mae. I had the largest thoroughbred racing stable in the world. I was named world champion, beating the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
So I became successful from insight and seeing a plan to maneuver. But what it also did was put me in a position to find the largest volume money laundering network, what I thought was in the country, that I found out to be in the world. I had found what is now being called the Pandora Papers in 2013, 8 years before you ever heard that name. And I've never let go. And I've exposed all of this evidence and the corruption in the FBI and the Department of Justice. But I don't want you to accept anything. What I'm going to do, and I'm asking what we're going to do here, is step through the evidence, talk to you logically. So not only do you see the evidence, but you connect the dots and understand what this is. And as we're speaking here now, more evidence is coming out with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in Burisma and $5 million. I want you to know we're not talking millions, we're talking trillions.
This is the information they don't want people to know. This is the corruption behind everything and the currency that runs those with power. And that is what I want people to start to wrap their heads around how deep this goes, and the fact that you've given up so much to expose this, because this is what we need as the people of this country to move forward, is to take down all of this corruption by exposing it.
You know, I say I didn't volunteer, I got drafted. I mean, this runs through the banks. I was in the mortgage business. This runs through laundering, through casinos and wiring. I was in the horse racing business. I also had $300-400 million to put on a war, and a war I did. I put their faces on signs across highways, including drug cartels. The methodology is this: what made me successful in business was finding paths to success. What I'm going to show you here and now is a path for success. I come with a plan, and that's what you're not hearing today. You're hearing finally after years exposing, but that's not good enough. You have to have a means of winning. The means is this: the way in is through their money. Their way in is through their laundering network. It's the question they can't answer. Hey Joe, where'd you get the billions? When you find that laundry, you don't find you find corrupt politicians. You find human trafficking. You find the drug cartels, which are one and the same. You find criminal law enforcement, judges, everybody that's on the take. They can't allow you to see the money that they stole, the payoffs, the kickbacks, the protection money. That is where you meet them, and that's what I did. A path to win. And when you turn around and understand that this isn't political, and what they've done is divide us, what this will give us is unity. They're stealing from all of you. They're stealing from our children's future. That's why I'm doing this. Okay. If you're ready, I'll step through some of the evidence with you.
I am. Let's do that. So I'm going to pull up the first slide here, and I'll let you run through it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see that, Mike?
No, I can't see it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So I'll let you know. So this is the first slide where politicians are named in the Pandora Papers. So countries with the most politicians included in the
Okay,
Pandora
good.
Papers.
I can't see it, but okay, there it is.
I'll run you through it.
Now, what I want you to remember is, if you go through the 500 videos that I did over these years, because I knew you wouldn't get it then, and you didn't. That's the problem with insight. I get to the party 10 years before everybody else. It also made me rich. Now, what I told you then was the Ukraine in 18, 19, 20 in videos. And what you see here is the disconnect with money and the money laundering. And you'll see graphs that it goes offshore. That partner offshore has to be a protected, a leverage partner, somebody that these corrupt politicians and cartels trust. Usually somebody, something that they can leverage. So let's take a look. Now, of that 932 billion is exactly where I told you it was, in the state of New Hampshire, protected and guarded, and all the people that I gave you before, that you will see on a $50 million settlement, is involved in the Pandora Papers today. So the top of the list is the Ukraine. How can they be leveraged? By their own security. So in other words, if we go into the Pandora Papers, we find a roadmap of corruption, but you find the connection with a Ukraine. I say that's a pretty good idea to take that step before we wind up in a nuclear war. That's the importance of this evidence. And don't think that's not possible. Because the one thing this deep state understands is, if you find their money, they're dead. They're gone. And they will do anything to save themselves, even at the cost of you.
And I think a lot of Americans have realized there is corruption in Ukraine. That information, like you said, back then, hearing it didn't mean much to them. But now that they're seeing it for themselves, now they're ready to connect those dots. And this is exactly what all of the information that we're about to show you guys here does for you. And you can see on this slide, which is that same slide, Mike, Ukraine
Right.
has 38 politicians, the most out of the countries that are listed here in the Pandora Papers. But there's a lot more behind this. So I don't know if you want me to move on to the next slide, Mike.
One last thing. Like
Okay.
you said, there's a lot more. This is what they're not letting you see. This Pandora Papers information about even New Hampshire, with even the amount of 935 billion, which, by the way, the defense budget is 700 billion. The largest industry in this country is corruption. But the point I'm making, and it's important, is that they're not from the foreign entities tracking the money into United States, into New Hampshire, is not covering the domestic. They built this. Bill Shaheen, the architect of the Pandora Papers, husband to Senator Shaheen, co-chair for Hillary Clinton. This is the cabal. But what I'm saying to you is there's trillions, and it's domestic money. And that is the Pandora box that they keep locked and won't let you see in. But it is the American cartel that I'm catching. They have their money, and you'll see that as we go. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. We'll move on to the next slide. So this is the slide that says, what are the odds of 4 people having children working for Ukrainian gas companies?
Right. This is important. Now, you ready? Remember these 2 words: plausible deniability. What that is you're looking at cash registers, the sons, the daughters, the cousins, the brothers. They're the ones who are going out there and getting paid. That's the plausible deniability. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. And you've got Romney's son, Pelosi's, and then Kerry's. That's not a coincidence. Think about this. The Green Party's all working their children for a gas company, Burisma.
Exactly.
I mean, it's obvious.
And so it's not just Hunter. It's his brother. It's his nieces, his, the nephews. It's everyone. It's the entire Biden family.
You got it. And I'll guarantee you there's cousins you've never heard of. And the thing here is there's always a cash register. Senator Jean Shaheen, ready? Bill Shaheen, that I will introduce you to again, and you'll see his name on a $50 million settlement, is the cash register for Jean Shaheen. He is the leading lobbyist for opioids, the lobbyist for Liberty Mutual. Don't think Liberty Mutual and the pharmaceutical industry doesn't pay for protection too, as does big banks, which is why the collapse in 2008, nobody went to jail. Nobody ever goes to jail. They also own the courts. You don't think the courts are political? It's these governors that appoint the judges, just as the president would appoint the state Supreme Court, the Supreme Court. It's the same. It's all political, which is why Trump's in court.
Exactly. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing with Donald Trump. And the fact that people continue to say nothing's happening, it's because the people that control the courts, they control everything. It's a 2-tier system of justice that we're watching. And we're going to talk about solutions, how we're going to work together to change it all.
The FBI, the DOJ, is the deep state. They control the intelligence networks. Here's the secret. You ready? They're looking for themselves. No one goes to jail. Who turned around and blocked me? The FBI. Who turned around and took my evidence and blocked that? The Department of Justice. Except for we've documented it, and you're going to see it coming up. So I'll get into that then. Documented evidence. We're not going to guess here. I'm going to all these steps of verified proof. Okay, let's go to the next.
Yep, got it. So this one is
The
Robert Curley
email?
Jr. Sorry, it's the email attachment to the settlement.
Excellent. Right. So what you're going to see in this email is that they offered me $50 million to not tell you. And what you'll see in this email that's attached to a confidentiality agreement and a set of releases. That's all signed, by the way.
And that's the part I want to stress again. There aren't very many people in this world that are given the chance to get $50 million to shut up and let them continue to be corrupt. And this is why I'm grateful for what you're doing and that I want everyone to give you a platform, because the more people that hear this, the more people that take action, the better chance we have of having a better future and taking this down.
And know this, they took my 274 million. So it wasn't just not taking their money, it was them leveraging me with mine. But you know something? Does anybody ever say no? All these years later, I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't trade the lives of children and their future for money. So you'll see in that. Now look, you're looking at evidence. $50 million is not an offer, it's a confession. A confession. So we're going to go over the names on that confession, but you'll see the one stipulation I said that I wouldn't agree to is I will not sign a confidentiality agreement. The explanation thereof is I'm telling you no matter what, and did. Do you know why they signed it and put a list on their names on it? Because they never believed that somebody would say no.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why you're seeing it. It's also a reason they tried to have me murdered. But let's go
More than
on.
once.
Three times in 13 days, twice caught on security camera that the Department of Justice and the Attorney General of the United States.
Uh-oh. Did I lose him? I lost him. Sorry, guys. He was on a roll, by the way. Hopefully we can get him back in here. Let me just shoot him a note. Give me a second. There he is. Mike, you got excited. I lost you.
You know what it was? We lost the connection. I got it back.
Okay.
And you know what? Every time something like this happens, trust me, they don't want people hearing this. All right. So let's go just to the cover. I'm showing you the confidentiality agreement.
Jimmy, can you fix that? Sorry. For some reason, it's just not showing properly. I think it's got to be.
Now, I posted this confidentiality agreement, but what this agreement says is, again, that I can't tell anybody. They wanted 18,184 documents destroyed. That's a lot of evidence. If I sign this, everything gets destroyed. Emails, letters, any kind of communication, all gets destroyed. Every evidence of what happened. All right, next. So we'll see the settlement agreement. Now, it's just a couple pages, but here's the important of the settlement agreements. What you have to understand is this. Morrison Mahoney was my lawyer. They turned out to be the biggest client for Liberty Mutual. Liberty the Mutual was the insurer for all the defendants, meaning it was a setup from the beginning, which is why Morris Mahoney and Liberty was paying me the $50 million. It was all fraud. So here's the importance. You ready? The importance is this. Now let's keep going through this logically. One, they wanted to pay you $50 million. Two, they committed fraud from the very beginning. A multi-billion-dollar law firm in Morrison Mahoney. Now just imagine how big Liberty Mutual is. Yet they committed egregious fraud and corruption. But yet they did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the question there is, you ready?
Who's going to stop them? Why wouldn't they?
Well, here's the deal. Whatever is on those releases is bigger and more important than the law firm of Morris Mahoney and Liberty Mutual. You know, liberty, liberty, liberty. Every time I hear that, I want to jump out a window.
Don't do that.
But my point being is, there's the size. So for them to do it, they're protecting something bigger. Remember, they always trade up. So if you could show the releases, we'll show that first page of release.
So this
where
is
it has,
I'm showing the confidentiality agreement front page.
right, go to the releases now.
Okay. So, yep, that's the Bill Shaheen release.
The Bill Shaheen. So you know that Bill Shaheen's on a $50 million release. Now that's what I'm telling you. Who's Bill Shaheen? He is the architect of the Pandora Papers. He built it. He built it and corrupted the state of New Hampshire to make it a sanctuary for the money laundering network of Pandora Papers, but also the protection network. That's why, and he is the husband to Senator Jean Shaheen, who was the governor, who appointed the AGs. From the AG, they appointed also the judges. That's how they took over your courts. Assistant AGs moved to the banking department, education. I mean, to each Department of Revenue, they took control criminally with a bunch of lawyers throughout your state. Again, Shaheen, the architect, the co-chair for Hillary Clinton. Where do you think she's hiding her money? Senator Clinton, Senator Shaheen, and Hassan were named as VP candidates for Biden. So when you turn around and say Burisma, 5 million, then the question becomes, let's keep turning the page.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, where'd you put the money? How'd you clean it?
We're not allowed to ask those questions, though.
See, there's the thing, Shaheen, 50 million. Remember, he's also the lawyer for the largest cartel in this country that I outed on signs across 3 states. Now, Shaheen now turns around, and with the Pandora Papers, you have to understand the real currency on this. It's not just the money. It's the secrets and the blackmail and the extortion of where that money came from. Remember Maxwell, Epstein and Maxwell?
Mm-hmm.
Who were they? They were blackmailers, but they were money launderers. Where did Maxwell go? Where she could have gone to anywhere in the world with her money and her contacts. She went to the state of New Hampshire. She bought a house from a Granite LLC, or Granite State LLC. You know who owned it? A cabinet member in the Obama administration, the Treasury, the same Treasury that ran a cover-up.
Would make a lot of sense why it took so long.
Oh, now, so in other words, here you go. Do you know who Maxwell's lawyer was? The same Bill Shaheen. There it is. It all keeps they keep landing in the same nest each time. Now, if you could show the back page. Now, here's an important, remember, what's bigger than Liberty Mutual? What's bigger than Morris Mahoney? That back page, you'll see those 10 entities numbered. Those entities include the IRS, the banking department, the banking commissioner, the Department of Revenue, every state and federal auditing entity. Let's bring this home for you. They control the audits. That's how they steal.
And they won't audit themselves, but they'll audit us.
They'll audit you for $600 with 87,000 IRS agents now carrying guns. Mm-hmm. But the IRS is the money laundering network. Jean Shaheen was cited for targeting with the IRS.
It's almost like what Joe said. It's who counts the votes. Same thing. It's who audits.
Right. How about this? Who arrests? It's a pretty simple theory, methodology. Ready? The FBI don't arrest themselves, and the
Right.
DOJ don't prosecute themselves. I mean, and now the IRS is laundering their money and the Treasury. But here's the beauty. The beauty is that I proved it. They are on that settlement. And I keep proving it each time. My step from here was knowing that I had now a money laundering network and that I thought this was the deep state. It was international, the largest in the world as ever known. This is what you're looking at. This is what's bigger than Liberty Mutual. Now, what we'll do is now from here, let me see, back page 7, evidence. Let's go to the evidence page 1 with the U.S. attorney. Oh, good, you're already there. You're on. You're ahead of me now. All right, now you're ready now.
I anticipated where you were going.
Beautiful. Nobody anticipates me usually. Basically, because I don't know where I'm going. Now, what you have to understand from this, with that evidence, with that settlement, which was a confession, I didn't take their money. I wanted to put them in jail. Where did I go? I went to the FBI. I went to the TITGA, the Treasury Inspector General of a Taxation Administration. They are what polices the IRS. I said, okay, let's go. Now, you've seen the FBI on a dozen videos not open their door. They knew who I was and what I had. I brought a lounge chair one time. Well, I'm sorry, a beach chair. Put it in front of their door, 100 cars in a parking lot. Nobody left the building in 4 hours. FBI.
You're a rebel.
They
I
hate
like it.
cameras, by the way. So it got to the point where I knew that they weren't going to help, that they were involved. They were the protection network. Guess what Bill Shaheen used to be? The U.S. attorney working with the FBI and prosecutions. That's what made him the perfect guy. It also made me the perfect SOB to go after them, because I brought the chair and sat outside their door and then came back week after week. And I was turning around. You see me on videos ringing the bell. I know you're in there. And then I put those same FBI up on those signs and called them traitors and treasonous. People thought that was insane. Well,
Takes
how
a
are you
lot of
thinking?
guts to do what you do.
Yeah, how do you feel about it now? Now. So then Treasury Inspector General, in fact, I think you'll see a video later on where you hear a recorded phone call from the Treasury Inspector General saying they put moles in my office, intercepted my mail for 3 years. So the entities that I went to for help, that you go to help, is what's corrupted. It starts from the top. So we have proof of that. So we're not done yet. Do you know who opened the door? Trump. Trump turned around. My first contact was Corey Lewandowski in 2016, where it was the campaign manager for Trump. At the same time, when I figured out the Treasury was corrupted, the FBI was corrupted, and you'll also see that I handed evidence to the DEA under camera. They got an 80,000-pound capacity tractor trailer full of fentanyl in the tons.
But I do want to reiterate, as you're saying this, again, it's not political. When you bring up Donald Trump, it's not that, you want people to say, oh, Trump, but it's the truth. It's people that are not corruptible are the ones that are going to take down a corrupt system. That is just the truth of the matter. That is how it works. And that is why people who aren't corrupt and aren't corruptible don't make it into those positions of power. But when Trump did, they panicked. And that's why they've done to him what they've done, because he's not corruptible. And that's what we need in all levels of government that we don't have right now.
Remember, it'd be foolish to think that it's not Republicans and Democrats Sununu took the keys from Shaheen, the Republican, who happens to hate Trump. He just turned around and said, I'm not running for president. I'm going to focus on destroying not Joe Biden, but Trump. Trump knows he's got the keys because I told him and was telling him for 7 years now. He knows. Who do you think sent General Flynn to see me? In all communications, verifiable and proof. Who do you think opened this door? And this is an important door that you're going to see here. This is the United States Attorney. Now, the United States Attorney is what prosecutes cases for the FBI. This U.S. Attorney has over 200 attorneys working for him. He is the most powerful law enforcement officer in this country, next to the Attorney General of the United States. Okay? That's a forgery of my DRA tax return. That's in that list of evidence. So the description on those evidence, page 1 and page 2, is not my description of evidence. It's the U.S. Attorney Lullen's description of evidence. Do you know what he has if you read through the IRS, the corruption, the New Hampshire Banking Department, extortion attempts, Morrison Mahoney, the $50 million settlement, attempted murder, judicial corruption. I mean, a hitman we just recorded, Project Veritas did. Look at on the second page. What's on the second page? Titka and the recording of the Treasury Inspector General. And then you see, again, New Hampshire banking, insurance fraud, Liberty Mutual. You'll see drug issues. You'll see Griner, Cruz, Anagos. That is the largest cartel in this country. So right here, we have the Pandora Papers. We have their whole operation and protection system. We've incriminated the FBI at this point, Titka, the Treasury. We've got them all of them. Now, what did Lullen do? And you can see that here.
Mike, the one I'm showing, and I don't know if you can see it. It's
No,
limitations.
that's not the back page. The back page is the list of evidence.
Yeah, I was on that one before. Okay.
So number 9, you look at number 9 on the list of evidence. Do you know what Lullen does? He sends the evidence, all of this evidence. Now remember, this was 5 years before you heard of the Pandora Papers. He sends the evidence on number 9, you'll see. Evidence is with the FBI and the Attorney General's office in Washington. This went to AG Sessions, then AG Barr. United States Attorney Lullen, the most powerful U.S. attorney and law enforcement officer, next to the Attorney Generals of the United States. Guess what? The Attorney Generals of the United States have this evidence and took it from the most powerful U.S. attorney. So all of this evidence is with the Department of Justice and the Washington Bureau of the FBI.
But Mike, I got to ask you, I would imagine that there are people, because the currency is blackmail and extortion, there are people, good people in government or that have the ability to do something about this that are too afraid.
Scared shitless. Right. The problem with this country is we got too many cowards. That's what it is. Listen, 3/4 of Congress that has the Pandora Papers, that know the names of $935 billion belong to, are not telling you.
How do we make them unafraid, Mike? Because I got to tell you, I mean, if I'm sitting on information like this, I'm putting it out there because my children need a future. There are a lot of people out there that do have the courage, and money doesn't mean anything to them. What matters is doing what's right. And I got to imagine that someone in Congress has got to be the first and rally the troops to say, you know what, we're putting this out there. How do we do that? How do we get them to do that?
Well, let me tell you this first, okay? One, they know the size of it. 3/4 of them took money from the pharmaceutical industry to become congressmen. Dirty money would get most of these bastards elected. Okay? So they're bought and paid for. They're usually dirty before they even get in there. I mean, Congressman Pappas from New Hampshire is a member of the cartel. I mean, that's how filthy this is. So, as far as by seeing the size of it, knowing that they become a member, they have to ask themselves this: would they lose their life to save your life? And you'd be surprised how many people say no. I had to turn around and make that decision as a wealthy man. Not many people make that decision. That's our problem.
There are a lot more of us than them, right? So,
Well,
if
that's the general public. That's our
right,
victims. That is what we have to unite. We're not, don't look for these politicians to save us. We as a people have to save ourselves. Now, remember, ready? Look what's happening currently. When we get IRS whistleblowers regarding the Bidens, right? What's happened? The IRS whistleblowers are afraid to be murdered. They're being threatened by the Biden families. And think what happens next. The Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney Wise, takes over the case and the handling of those whistleblowers. How's that for containment by the DOJ? Wait a minute, it gets worse. Then we get the FBI, who's getting accused of blocking the investigation of Biden and Hunter Biden's computer, and even the whistleblowers.
right.
So the same entities, the DOJ and the FBI that blocked me, are blocking these investigations now. Think about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene turned around and said 2,000 documents coming out of the Treasury with LLCs and proved a connection with the Bidens. Wait a minute. The Pandora Papers, the laundering network that I discovered, that they're hiding their monies in these LLCs with their names on it, are already in Congress.
Well, that's the point of this. I mean, if you think about what we've lived through, people that are paying attention have known about the Hunter Biden, laptop and all of its contents for over a year now, maybe 2 years actually. I'm losing track of time. We've been through so much. But the media has never reported. No one was talking about it. And now that the public is talking about it nonstop, it forces action. It's the same thing with this. If every one of us starts talking about this and shows them, hey, we're aware of this. If every time Mike Gill speaks, it gets views, it gets shared, and people talk more and more about it, that's how action is taken, because Congress has to take action on things that the public won't ignore.
Just remember this. I'm not disagreeing what you're saying, and that's part of my methodology and why suddenly I'm on all these podcasts and including the public and making me a whistleblower in Congress. I mean, they have whistleblowers, but no whistleblowers to blow the shit up. And that's what I'll do. I'll bring that settlement. I'll bring these names. I'll bring the evidence that you're seeing now that incriminates the FBI and the DOJ, a whistleblower against the IRS and the Treasury. And guess what? I won't be threatened and I won't back down. But the important thing is they won't put themselves in jail. Okay? They'd rather threaten that whistleblower. They'd rather kill a guy like Epstein in jail and telling you he committed suicide. Really? See, the truth is so much more dangerous than the obvious lie.
Well, Mike, I am of the belief, and maybe I'm naive, but I'm of the belief that there are more good people in the world than bad. There are more good people than corrupt. And that's what I hold on to hope to. And that's why I believe that there is a community out there that has your back and will continue to talk about this until something happens.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right. There are more good people, but not good people in power. Think about this.
By design, of course there aren't.
Of
Good
course,
people won't make it there.
exactly by design. This is a business, this is an industry, which is why in a lot of my videos I showed organizational charts. I approached this and discovered this as a businessman.
Mhm.
So what they did was they moved in position of power. How does the few control the many? By first, you've got to have division. You tell me this. We as a country have never been more divided than we are now between Republicans and Democrats, religion and race. And
Mhm.
look what the media's job was. The media's job was to divide you. Do you think Fox or CNN on opposite sides, either one, they're lying? The purpose was division.
And what
This,
people don't understand is that we're more alike than they think. That's the part that people need to focus on, working together and finding what we have in common, not what divides us or what separates us or what makes us different. It's why we need to come together.
you can start what we love our children and we want them to have a future. We believe drug cartels and human trafficking is evil. Let's start there. Let's make them
Good
the
place to start.
enemy and not fight with one another. That's the thing with the unity. My mission was this: for you to learn the truth. This evidence is the truth. What would be my motivation exactly, other than taking a bullet in the head? Now
I
think of,
also want to reiterate, Mike Gill is not suicidal whatsoever. He has a great life ahead of him, right, Mike? I want you to confirm that.
you're right. I listen.
Same here.
But 3 murder attempts, I outthought them, I outfought them, and then maybe the third one was the grace of God. I, you know, because a second later there was a gun to my chin. So, and these are on security videos. And if you see on this list, you see attempted murders. You see murder for hire. You can listen to Kill Gill on a recording that Project Veritas recorded, never told you.
Yep.
And that's on State of Corruption YouTube. How much to make them go away? Well, I'm still here. So,
God wants you here, Mike. That's why you're here.
and so do my 5 children.
That's right. They need you. We all do.
Okay.
So this report that I have up here, it says EH report number 13-10912.
Right. That was, what they did? They leveraged me. See, at that point, now remember all those 10 people, 10 entities. The IRS, when I said no to the money, they went after me. Department of Revenue, they went after me by forging my state tax return. And we don't have to guess. This is the document that says it was forged. Who went after me again? The banking department and commissioner. The same Commissioner Perlow. So we can turn around and introduce you to him. So all the entities that leveraged me all came back, including the FBI. So let's go back to now. Let's take a look at.
So the next one I have is the cover up of the banking department.
Okay,
That
let me.
screenshot of the video.
Oh, with the banking, but you'll also see a screenshot of the Treasury Inspector General, Marco Sorelli. It's a phone screenshot. And what you'll see, okay, that's good. Hold on to that.
Oh, this one?
Well, that was the banking department. I was going to sue the banking department. And I also opened an investigation. And in this investigation, right, this was a hearing. You know what they did with all the evidence? They redacted it. So that picture you see me holding a blank or a black piece of paper, that was their evidence. They redacted everything. That video is called Follow the Head. The AG's office, Richard Head, blocked all this up and covered up for the banking department. That's right, dickhead. So you see those documents and you see that and Follow the Head. All right? Now, go to the next page.
That's the tweet.
Yeah. But this is how they used that paper as evidence, and it was completely blacked out. And you want to laugh? The person who was the auditor that was testifying was reading the paper. And I go, what is this, a magic act? It's black and she's reading. All right. Now, you have to understand who was the entity in charge of this? The banking commissioner. The same Glenn Perlow, who wanted 50 million. Then what happened after this hearing? Glenn Perlow resigns. And that document you show, Glenn Perlow became the head of Prospective Trust. And you'll see it in the video.
So now I'm showing.
Money,
Sorry, go ahead.
a money laundering company in the billions. That was Perlow. And guess what? They were named in the Pandora papers. The same guy protecting the banking department was protecting Prospective Trust.
And just
And they sold
FYI,
to
too, the Pandora papers are public, and I just feel like a lot of people out there haven't read it. They've ignored it, but I would encourage them to go do that.
They haven't made the domestic part of this. That Prospective Trust is domestic money. Now, guess what Perlow went to? And again, on the 50 million, he went to Jordan Park, a management company of LLCs and trusts in the billions. Wait, it gets better. Perlow is the head counsel for LLCs and trusts in the state of New Hampshire. I mean, remember, 50 million. Now, what you're seeing here, that's Johnson, that's Chris Sununu, and that's me at the end of the table. That video is called Doing the Laundry. I caught the move. This was the executive committee was making Jerry Little, the banking commissioner, the previous state senator who wrote a single bill. If the banking commissioner trusts you, we don't have to audit. No kidding. No audits. That's so that the drug cartels banks. That opened the door to the Pandora papers and the LLCs. Nobody audits. And guess what? It's the law. And then who becomes the banking commissioner? The same Jerry Little. Hold on to that. The same Jerry Little. He wrote his own get out of jail free card.
How convenient.
You'll hear me confront Sununu in that Doing the Laundry. The guy wanting to run for president, the guy going after Trump. I called him out. I called him princess. This guy didn't say a word. They knew not to confront me.
So I know we started a little late. If you're okay to continue on beyond the hour, hopefully.
Oh no problem.
Watching are okay too, but
I'll try to.
Yeah, so I've got the picture up of Dick Anagost. Oh, you do see it, okay.
And there's the head of the cartel, Anagost, and his new best buddy, the guy, the keymaster, Sununu, took the keys from Shaheen by leveraging Shaheen with my evidence. 106 witnesses, 6 arresting state troopers, 2 prosecutors and a judge, and members of the cartel that was in court. And Project Veritas and O'Keefe gave up those witnesses along with Aaron Day. That's how that was how they opened the door for 20,000 libertarians in New Hampshire. But it also made Sununu the keeper of that money and those secrets. His new best buddies opening casinos to launder their money. You ever watch Ozark, the series? Well, guess what? This is that on steroids. And this is one of those casinos. And his new best buddy, Sununu, with the same dark money that gets these bastards elected.
It's almost like they were making fun of us by creating that Ozark show, because it does relate very, very closely.
I think they were trying to wake us up. I'm thinking it's also why it stopped at 3 episodes. I mean, 3 seasons. Because at the end, what were they doing? Voter fraud and the corruption of the FBI.
That's true.
And the partnership with the pharmaceutical industry. Hello? And that's exactly what I haven't found.
I think that part of a lot of this too, and what's taken people so long to get to this point, is that people don't want to believe that there's this kind of corruption, this kind of evil in like their real world, the reality they live in. But it's true. It's all there. And State of Corruption, you're on YouTube, right, Mike? They can go there and see
I
all
have
of this.
YouTube. At one point, I had 500 videos. They cut some out, like,
Of course.
the security cameras of them trying to murder me,
I have a feeling they
wrestling
wouldn't let me go live on YouTube today knowing what was coming because I heard that the stream isn't working there. I'm assuming that's why, but you never know.
Who knows? But you know what? They left enough out, so it makes me wonder too.
Mm-hmm.
But
Agreed. The
and
next
I've also
picture,
you see some Chitka evidence. Those envelopes that sealed that the IRS and the Treasury Inspector General was taking.
the video
Again,
of that.
that's evidence. It's indisputable.
And that's on this slide that you guys see,
Right.
right?
That's hard evidence. That's evidence that U.S. Attorney Lullen asked for directly and received by me in person with a witness under camera. That is them intercepting communications with the IRS, looking like it was handled by an accountant. That accountant's name was Curtis Morley. Do you know who was my ticket agent that was working with for 3 years? Thomas Morley. This guy, they were related. Thomas Morley, I caught him by not hanging up. Project Veritas recorded the conversation with him and the Treasury Inspector General of the United States, Tim Camus. And you know what they said? We've got a plant in his office. It was my controller. They were intercepting mail and
Neuralink.
phone calls. That's how big this operation was. But again, they have this evidence. So
The
let's
last
bring
slide
it.
has your video, by the way, which I will play when if you
All
want
right,
to
so
play.
let's set up this video, okay? Now it's only a few minutes, but this is what I want you to see. First, I did this video in 2017. You'll see me introduce you to Perlo, who now becomes the head of the counsel for these LLCs. I tell you, Perlo was representing Prospective Trust, who now turns out to be in the Pandora papers. I tell you, the drug cartel with AutoFair, the largest car dealership in New England, they're financing their own cars through their own drug bank primary. They're hiding their money in inventory, moving fentanyl through car carriers. Guess what? They're named in the Pandora papers. You'll see their own bank primary, and you'll see a picture. You know who's in the picture? Senator Ayotte, Senator Shaheen, Governor Hassan, and that same Commissioner Perlo. And the speaker is Bill Greiner. And if you Google Bill Greiner and James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, you'll see about 4 articles where James O'Keefe investigates Greiner. Why? Because Greiner's the money man for the cartel and he manages the politicians that the cartel owns with Shaheen. That was the problem why O'Keefe had. He was trying to get his people into political positions. The political petitions were owned by the cartel and the deep state. He made a deal. The deal was me.
I hope you guys see how deep this web goes. It's incredible. It's incredible. So I'm going to play that video, Mike, just to let you guys know it takes about 10 seconds to start. So I'm going to play that now.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on.
Mike Gill, State of Corruption. I don't have to tell you that the drug business in this country is bringing in billions, and those billions are buying your public officials and buying your law enforcement and your courts. When have you ever had large areas of drugs being sold with law enforcement hasn't been corrupted? Well, I'm going to show you a way that we can combat this across this country. I want you to know that I'm filing a federal lawsuit against the Banking Commission in the state of New Hampshire. And I believe this is a model across this country. They are helping the laundering of this money. Banking Commissioner Jerry Little was a state senator. Just before he became the Banking Commissioner, he had a bill that got passed that's saying that if you trust the management of a bank or a credit union, you don't have to audit them. Really? So no more audits. Because these are drug banks. I'll show you more. You ready? If you look at a graph, and I'll show it to you. We talk about collecting of the dirty money. These are the street people and working for large organizations, bringing in billions in each of our states. And what do? They bring their money to lending institutions, financial institutions. And then what do? They transfer it to bigger banks, offshore. And that money comes back in manufacturing buildings, luxury assets, financial institutions, commercial, industrial buildings. For instance, in my state, Dick Aganos, Cruz and Griner own Auto Fair, the largest car dealership in New England. He is the largest real estate holder in the state. And I'm certain it's like this in every state. They're showing you the model. Now let's take a look. Is it beyond us to understand? For instance, HSBC, one of the largest lending institutions in the country, got trouble for money laundering. Wachovia, for money laundering. What are they saying? $378 billion. So it goes on every day. In my state, it's the credit unions and the drug bank, primary bank, what are quite literally owned by the drug dealers, which Jerry Little now won't audit. You see how it works? So we're going to sue the banking department. They've been leveraging me with fake consent orders. You've seen Little corruption. And I told them I'm putting him in jail. No, don't shake my fucking hand. I'm going to put you in jail. But this is how. Think about this. Glenn Perlow was the previous banking commissioner. He was an assistant AG. He worked for McLean Law Firm previous as an insurance defender. When does that make him an expert on banking? I'm the one who gave him a Ponzi scheme when he was the AG. I made him the banking commission because he had to cover up that information. You know where this guy is now? He's working for Prospecta Trust. It's an institution in New Hampshire with $8 billion in assets. No shit. And you think about this. Isn't that what the graph says? And they come back? This is a complete pattern. We know the pattern. You don't have to go after the banks and drug dealers. You go after the people protecting the laundering. You go after the banking commission in each of our states and say, audit that bank, audit that credit union. Where'd they come up with the extra billions? Right? That's how we do it. I am going to have you follow this lawsuit. I am going to have you there when I file it. You see Jerry Little in an interview with me? What do you think he's going to look like in a deposition? I am telling you, this is the means. If all you have to do is believe that these banks, that are national banks, large banks, some of the largest in the country, were guilty of laundering, you don't think these guys, credit unions and the banks here in this state, would do the same as they would in yours? Of course. And that's it. You've seen the means of the method. I'll post the graph so you get to see how it works. Tell me how it's not working in your state. We follow this and sue the banking departments in each of our states. I am telling you, we'll break down the laundering and you'll find the drugs. You'll find the dealers. And again, people under the age of 50, the leading cause of death is addiction now. I mean, is this worth our attention? How many more people have to die? And how many more billions have to be made to make it impossible to this fight? They bought your politicians. They bought law enforcement. They bought the judges. I'm telling you, if I've uncovered it and exposed it. Mike Gill, State of Corruption.
All right, Mike.
So what happened with the lawsuit is they blocked the lawsuit. They owned the judge. You see? So in other words, the path can never be the courts. The path isn't politicians. It's not the FBI. It's not the DOJ. It's us. We have to come together and make demands. For instance, what I'd like the people out there to do is call your congressman and say, make Mike Gill a whistleblower in Congress. We had Senator Johnson turning around and say, we need more whistleblowers. Really? I'm that whistleblower that'll blow the top off of this. And they all know who I am. All of them. Listen, the National Security Advisor doesn't reach out to me. The Attorney General of the United States don't take my evidence. U.S. Attorney and President Trump doesn't have Lewandowski take my evidence and not know who I am. They all know the danger of my evidence. What I uncovered even then, that was in 17, is the Pandora Papers. That path is true. Follow the money. The path for us to win, and the question they can't answer is, hey, Joe, where'd you get the billions? And when you look into New Hampshire, you will find Clinton. You will find Obama. You will find human traffickers.
And just to clarify, Mike, because I saw somebody in the chat ask the question, it's not just New Hampshire. This is every state. I think, we have a situation where most governors are involved in things like this.
You're absolutely right, which is why I'm working with the people of Arizona. They lost their state with this same methodology, the same AG's office, the same corrupt courts, the Sinaloa cartel, buying properties, banks, assets. It is the methodology. It is in every state. The difference in New Hampshire is this. It was small. It was completely corrupt. It was controllable. They didn't make 50 safe places of laundering, because that's 50 different chances of getting caught. They made one entity that was completely controlled and is a small state. The state of South Dakota has 300 billion. Again, even a smaller state than New Hampshire in population. And I'm telling you, it is in every state. And I want you to know that. They corrupted all our courts. But this is a clearing center. This is a guarded of secrets. Yeah. That's why Maxwell went to New Hampshire. That's who Shaheen is. That's why Obama's Treasury cabinet member sold that LLC to Maxwell.
There's so much more to this too. And guys, I want to let you know, and Mike, if you're okay with that, I would like to bring you back for a part 2, because there's so much to uncover here. And I've got
I have a part 2 that'll blow your mind. I have the absolute proof of the Department of Justice and the FBI in a cover-up. I can show you I have 177 case numbers with the Department of Justice. 177.
And Mike, I think you're going to be busy, by the way, because I've got a lot of friends already hitting me up asking to have you on their shows too. So just keep your schedule open.
Listen, busy is the plan. I'm turning around. It's also the best way I have to protecting myself is by making myself as public as possible. But the plan is to have as many people as to hear this. And remember, whether the podcast has a large audience, a small audience, remember this, it's the message. That's right. I think we talked about it. That one particular person that hears this, they can open up that door for me. Exactly. I get into Congress, they'll never put the genie back into the bottle, I promise.
And I will encourage everyone to continue to talk about this, share this with your friends. If you have a show, have Mike on, but write to your Congress people. Tell them you want Mike Gill in front of Congress to be the whistleblower, to talk about this, to give the evidence, because the more we talk about this, they cannot ignore all of us. So we've got to continue to do this. Mike,
it's in the news every day. The IRS whistleblowers is money laundering. The LLCs is money laundering. The question with Biden taking $5 million from Burisma is, where'd you put the money? You see, everything that I exposed and built to get to this point is happening now. I believe this, and I'll leave you with this. I believe our window is right now. And if we miss this window, it's gone forever. And at the end of the day, what you have to worry about is what is their plan? Their plan is control. That's the IRS agency. That's the digital currency. That's where we're moving to. They're moving to control you into a police state. And every day we get closer. And when you say to yourself this, I'll leave you with this. Ready? I know it's corrupt, but what can you do about it? That is what they want you to say.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm so grateful to have you here. Like I said, anytime, have you back on for part 2. Thank you so much. I'm going to close out with everyone. I'll let you go. And it's great talking to you, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Guys, this story was amazing with Mike. Like I said, continue to talk about it, share it out. I wanted to thank everyone on Rumble. Thank you so much for being here. I'm seeing all of your comments, and I will say I did tell him preemptively you may have some questions, and in part 2 we will take questions from you guys. He does want to answer those, but he wanted to make sure to get the information out to you guys. I will say Holy Gold Pills Unpilled, Omazon, Fruit Bat, Brainstorm, Uncensored Abe, Quintessence, Sean Joe, Karen Hare 7, Joyful June, Matrix Q to Breaker. I always say that wrong. I always want to say it differently. You guys are amazing. Thank you so, so much. And to Jimmy, who's got to go and get back to his show. Thank you, everyone. Please stay tuned for part 2 of this. We will have Mike Gill back. This information is way too important for us not to keep talking about. And until next time, I will talk to you guys soon. Hey guys, Defender of the Republic here. You may have seen me on TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Twitter, or Truth Social. Today, I, like many others fighting to unite our country and share truth, was silenced by this platform. I understand what I'm signing up for when I choose to establish myself on a platform of a private company. However, I've taken the time to read through the community guidelines and follow them for every single post they've created. Yet, we know the world is not fair. Free speech is no longer a right, and tyranny surrounds us every day. Those of you who have helped me build my platform, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it is you who have kept me going. The great patriots of this country are like none other, and when we work together, there is nothing we can't achieve. I, like many like me, have spent many sleepless nights and sacrificed so much to be able to use my voice for the purpose I believe that God gave me. My hope is that one day, true freedom will be restored, not just here in America, but all over the world. My hope is that those warriors God has put here at this time will awaken to their true purpose. In the words of a man who has endured years of public injustice, there is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend. We will not break. We will not yield. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never, ever, ever back down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a little chance, because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. To the many like me who've been silenced, we will rebuild. We will keep coming back, and we will continue to share truth. Thanks for listening.